Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Those wanting to ask a question, if they can put their hands up, that would be very helpful indeed. We'll start off, gentlemen, there for Kevin.
Well done, Kevin.
Thank you.
How did you feel when you were down 10 sets to 0?
10 sets to 0.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess in our overall record, I didn't think of it like that. I felt the first set obviously wasn't great for me. I was a little bit unsettled starting the match out. I thought I settled down much better in the second set. Even though I lost it in a tiebreak, I felt I played a much better set of tennis. And obviously in the third set, I just tried to compete as hard as I could. Was able to, hold serve throughout. Obviously had that one match point, but played a good point and was able to get that break. And I feel like once I did that, I really settled down well and felt pretty comfortable out there.
Were you brave to attack in that match point, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I knew, I think I remembered the point pretty well, but, the ball was there to be hit and, I went after it. It had a good first serve as well. By that stage, I felt I was hitting the ball well. Obviously it was important for me to, get through those tight moments. But I feel like my commitment to the kind of tennis I wanted to play throughout the match, it got, definitely got better as the match progressed.
Given the setting, given the head-to-head, given the opponent, the evolution of the match, was that your biggest single victory in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about it too much in the broader context of things. Just, it felt great to, get that match. I mean, I think the toughest thing players face when going out playing somebody like Roger in this setting is giving yourself a chance. And I feel like often the times that I've played him before, or other guys sort of with his ranking in history, I haven't really allowed myself to play. The first set was an example of that, so I was really proud of myself the way I was able to relax and play my game, and that's a big goal that I've had. So even if I'd lost that match in 3 sets or 4 sets, I still actually made some progress on that front. So that was a good plus. Obviously, it's infinitely better having winning that match, but overall, obviously, a lot of positives to take from it.
Kevin, I know in recent seasons you talked about being more demonstrative and how that could help you channel the positive energy. Today you seem very flatline on the outside, very self-contained. What was the thinking there, and did that help you in the kind of a real?
Yeah, so I mean, it's it's interesting. As players, you always look to evolve, and I think from a emotional standpoint, with my team, we've sort of evolved a little bit more. I feel like I'm able to harness some of that energy without being maybe as outgoing with it. So that's been a positive step forward for me. I feel like the benefits that I've had from, say doing that in the past was still there today. So that's, very encouraging for me, especially with these long matches, saving your energy, especially emotional energy, is very important. I think that's something I learned a little bit, especially at the French Open this year when I played Schwartzman in the 4th round. Needed to make a little bit of an adjustment in terms of the amount of emotional energy that I was expending. So I feel like this whole tournament's been, I've been in a very good place with that.
The gentleman right at the back.
I imagine this win's going to get a huge amount of coverage back in South Africa. You've spoken before about wanting to be a flag bearer for South African tennis. What impact do you hope this win will have back home, and also on your ongoing Wimbledon run?
Yeah, I mean, already gotten tons of messages from support back home. Obviously, at this sort of event, playing against an opponent like Roger, as you said, it's going to have a lot of coverage. So again, I really hope that it's an example of, sticking to your dreams and, keep believing in yourself, because, I always say I was in the same position. It's not easy coming from South Africa. It's very far from the tennis scene. In terms of my overall Wimbledon, it's definitely a win that means a lot to me today. It's tough in the sense that, now I've got to get ready for my next match. So, I can't dwell on it for too long. Obviously, there's a lot of emotions going on. So, you try come down as quickly as possible. Already started my recovery process because, as I said in the beginning of the tournament, getting through to the quarters was a big goal of mine, but also putting myself in these positions where, hopefully I'll be able to get, another step forward and be playing on Sunday.
The lady in the front row.
If you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about Milos and John, and also has your American citizenship ever come through?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, regardless of whether it's Milos or John, both incredibly good servers. It demonstrates right now, both on serve right now, really close tiebreak sets. I've played both of them quite a few times, and it's always close matches with them. So, fortunately for me, I'm through, so I can sit back and watch. I mean, definitely will take today to sort of reflect on today's match, and then, definitely have to recover and get ready for, my next match. And sorry, what was the second?
I know you applied for dual citizenship, American citizenship. You live there. Has that ever happened, or what?
Yeah, it's still in the process. Yeah.
Yeah, you seemed quite fit throughout the whole match, right through the end. What are some of the things you've done to maintain and increase your fitness in recent times?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always sort of learning as you go along. Even in the French, after my fourth round match, it was a long match. I had sort of an issue that's plagued me before, so we made a few adjustments this week, and it's been working well. I've got a great team with me. Obviously, spent a lot of time with my physio. And a lot of the work happens obviously before the tournament, but I think one of the keys, especially in these Grand Slams, because they're 2 weeks in length, you have to try and keep up with some of your off-court maintenance, especially I think the strength work. I think sometimes in the past I've done a lot going into the tournament, and then during the tournament, you sort of back off a little bit. I've actually been a bit more aggressive this tournament in terms of some of the strength I've done in the off court. I mean, on the off days, which I think's been beneficial. But I think just the more experience you get, just managing these sort of matches, managing your body better. There's no single sort of key that you can identify. I think is really a whole host of things that come into play.
Development of that one, really. I mean, was there a point when you were perhaps coming back from the knee problems you had a couple of years ago, or maybe just working in the gym or some of your fitness work, where you almost lost confidence that you could get back, but actually the perseverance comes good on days like today when you're still stronger after 4.25 hours?
Yeah, it was definitely a pretty tough time for me. That 2016, beginning of 2017. I think what definitely helped me was pretty soon, early on in 2017, I felt I started hitting the ball really well on the practice court, and I had been for a while. I think, I was sort of on the board of actually going down to Australia. I decided not to go. I think that was a great decision in hindsight. I think that's something I'd learned from 2016, where I constantly tried to get back into competition too quickly. And it just took me a little bit of time to find sort of my legs in the competitive atmosphere. And I feel that sort of started to change towards the end of the clay court season last year. And as I've said, it just obviously helps being able to stay healthy, because the momentum you build, you can continue that much easier. And I'm always a very highly motivated, sort of intrinsically myself. I've got a great team behind me, so even the days that felt tough, I mean, it was never a question in my mind of where I wanted to get back to. Of course, days like today, makes that whole process a little bit more special.
Kevin, I know tennis players tend not to put limits on what they can achieve at a tournament, but have you surprised yourself at all over the past 10 months of high performance, big results? I
mean, I guess yes and no. I mean, part of it is, I've always believed that I have this in me. I mean, to constantly get better. As I said earlier, very motivated to keep improving, and I feel like it's very rewarding seeing those improvements take place sort of week in and week out, especially over the last, say, 52 weeks. I really have felt a lot of improvements in that time. As I said, staying healthy, don't repeat myself, but that's, such a big key, especially, for tennis players and obviously any athlete, but, that helps a lot. My team believes in me a lot. My family believes in me a lot. I think I've started to believe in myself a lot more. I'm coming into this event definitely felt just a more quiet confidence of, going further in it than, maybe I had in the past. And obviously with matches like today, that definitely assists that process too.
Kevin, if I have it right, even when you were down in the scoreboard, you were out there saying to yourself, this is my day, this is my day. How do you do that when you're losing, especially to the greatest player of all time, and talk about your mental strength and confidence?
Yeah, I mean, as I sort of alluded to a little bit earlier, I feel, the few times that I've played him in the past, walked onto the court without the necessary belief that I needed to get through the match, and without doing it on purpose. Obviously, with the ranking system, you sort of peg people at different spots. I mean, obviously there's no easy matches, but if you play somebody maybe ranked lower than you have a bit more natural confidence in the match. In tough times, you can sort of rely on, hey, I feel like I'm a better tennis player, I'm going to get through. I felt it was a little bit tough saying that, obviously, today against Roger, but I sort of changed that phrase and said, what's happened in the past is, in the past, all I need to worry about is today. And I felt like just try to keep myself very, highly motivated and a lot of belief in myself and say that, today's going to be my day. Obviously, it came very close to it not being my day. I still think if I'd lost that match point, as I said earlier, I'd made a few steps in the right direction. Obviously, being able to get through it, I feel like I can take, bigger steps. But especially in that first set when it was really close, I sort of just kept on telling myself that, like, I'm in this match right now. And, as I said, I felt like today was going to be my day. And, I was able to keep with that as much as I could. And I guess in the end, I was right.
We've got two short questions. So the lady here and then...
Kevin, a bit of a similar question. In situations like today when you found yourself 2 sets to love down and then when you had to keep serving to stay in the match, how difficult was it to stay in the moment and not think about how close you were to losing at first and then how close you were to winning as well?
Yeah, I mean, in the third set, wasn't thinking too much of it. I just said, I'm down 2 sets to love. Let me, keep fighting. I felt I was playing better tennis, so that was motivating for me as well to keep at it, facing off that match point and then getting a break. And next minute, I'm like, I've got the third set in the bag. Almost felt in the fourth set, because I felt I was playing much, much better and actually playing really high quality tennis and having a few sniffs on his serve, almost felt my mind wondering, well, maybe I can do this, and put myself in a first set and, almost flashes of what it would be like winning the match. I felt, I did a good job of getting rid of those thoughts as well and just focusing in on the moment, because obviously it was very close in the end. And then in the fifth set, yeah, it's always maybe a little bit tougher being down a break the whole time. Oh, not down a break, obviously just down a game in the serving. I think what helped me was I started off each game, pretty well for the most part. I mean, there was a couple of games where I had to dig out, over a small hole at love 30 or love 15, but it's always nice getting those first few points, and for most of the time I was able to do that.
We take just one question this time. One.
Thank you. Kevin, you touched earlier on Milos and John as kind of a duo. If you wouldn't mind addressing them as individuals, since we won't have the opportunity to speak with you after their match. Starting with John, what do you consider to be the specific challenges in a matchup with him?
Yeah. John, I think's, got arguably one of the best serves of all time on the tour. I think, especially in the last few months, what's really impressive is just his first serve percentage as well. Never mind how accurate and big the serve is, but he's very consistent with it too. So definitely the first challenge is the serve. I feel like he's relies a lot on confidence, and I think especially after his win in Miami, and sort of just seeing him around and watching him play matches on the practice court, he's I think he has a lot of confidence right now, which allows him to be a bit more free from the baseline, from the back. In the matches that I've played him, it's obviously taking care of your serve is the first priority, and it's a match that's often won on just a couple points here and there. I feel confident in sort of baseline exchanges. I'd say quite a lot with John, but at the same time, because he's such a big player and he's got so much firepower, you have to you can't just be too patient. You have to still be aggressive and put him on the back foot. I think with Milos, very similar. I think John serves a little bit better than Milos's. I think Milos is a bit moves better from the baseline, is a bit more of an all-court player. Again with him, it comes down to the same thing. I mean, I'm going to have to take care of my serve games, and you know, even though I feel, again, comfortable with Milos from the baseline exchanges, I feel like if we just played a baseline match, I'd be, you know, pretty confident against him. But because of the nature of tennis with the serves and returns, you still have to be quite aggressive. You don't want him controlling the points coming in. I mean, you know, he comes forward very effectively. So, yeah, it's going to be close. I mean, you would say Milos has got a bit more experience just here at Wimbledon, making the finals and being in the quarterfinals quite a few times. So, you know, if I play John, it'll be a first for both of us in the semis. Milos has sort of been there before. You know, but I mean, either way, it's going to be, you know, I think a close match.
Very last question.
If you remember how excited you were when you reached the final at the US Open, and you compare it with today, can you say when you got more excited? I mean, thinking about all the different circumstances, Federer, Wimbledon, US Open.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, quite different just at US Open because it was, you know, pretty new being in the semis and in the finals. You know, there was a lot of excitement, a lot of emotions. And I think going into the finals, there was maybe a bit too much relief that, hey, I'm in the finals and didn't give myself enough of a chance to win that match just from a mental side. And I think I learned some valuable lessons throughout, you know, that tournament because coming in today, obviously being in the quarterfinals here for the first time, I think the way I approached the match was, you know, a bit more with expectations that I want to keep going. So, you know, as exciting as it is, I feel like I'm doing a good job of keeping it in perspective. There's, you know, hopefully 2 more matches still to be played. So, you know, as of right now, I'm sort of more focused on that than, you know, getting too excited about the overall picture.
Kevin, thank you very much
Great,
indeed.
thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, ladies.
Thank you.
So